All right, so today we're going to dive into GameStop. Not just the stock price, though. This time it's GameStop and the election and what it all means for market reform. We've got Frank Nez covering the daily market stuff, plus all the chatter on the RGME and our Super Stonk subreddits. They're passionate, shall we say.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of energy there for sure. And some pretty big claims going around. Naked short selling accusations, the SEC's role, familiar names popping up everywhere. Patrick Byrne, Ken Griffin. It's like a who's who of the GameStop saga this time around.
So let's just start right at the top.
Yeah.
Trump. Nez is pretty clear in his latest article,
Yeah.
saying Trump's going to fire SEC Chair Gary Gensler,
Yeah.
like right after he takes office. What would that even do to the SEC?
I mean, it'd be a huge move. For sure. Could signal a real shift in how they approach regulation, especially with market manipulation and short
Yeah.
selling. It just, kind of whole GameStop thing.
And, Trump's got his own history with short sellers.
Mm-hmm.
Back with his company, DJT. Think that's playing into this at all?
I mean, it's possible, right? Remember that quote from way back in 2012? He called short selling a very unfair practice, said it should be illegal. So yeah, I think his past is definitely informing his current stance.
And now we've got this other thing. New Vice President J.D. Vance. Nez mentioned his connection to Peter Thiel, huge deregulation guy. Could that be a problem? If Trump's pushing for stricter oversight and Vance is in there?
Yeah, that's a really interesting dynamic. Thiel and Vance both come from that Silicon Valley world. Limited government intervention, that's their thing. But Trump's on the other side of the fence totally. Should be fascinating to see how that plays out.
All right, so potential fireworks at the SEC. Internal politics. Let's bring in Patrick Byrne now, former Overstock CEO, the crusader against naked short selling, I guess we could call him.
Yeah, Byrne's an interesting guy for sure. Been talking about counterfeit shares and the rig market forever. But now he's saying this new administration will actually give him the platform to make a difference. What's striking is just how confident he is.
Yeah, some would say delusional, right? Nez even quotes someone calling him a whack job. Obsessed with conspiracy theories. But then you go on Superstock. People actually support some of his ideas, especially that tokenizing stocks thing.
It's what makes all of this so crazy. Byrne's a polarizing figure, no doubt. But when he talks about the stock settlement system, how it's open to manipulation and needs to be completely redone, that resonates with a lot of retail investors, people who feel like the system burned them.
This tokenizing stocks thing, though, that's a pretty out there idea. What would that even look like?
So basically, it's using blockchain to create a digital record of who owns a stock, like an NFT, but for stocks. The argument is it would make short selling and manipulation much harder, if not impossible.
Okay, that's a lot to process. We've got Trump maybe cleaning house at the SEC, Byrne pushing for radical change, and then there's Ken Griffin and Citadel looming over everything. Nez really paints them as the bad guys here. Naked short-selling market manipulation, even going after Trump media and GameStop.
Right. It's important to remember these are just accusations at this point. But the super stonk folks are going wild with speculation about Griffin's role in all this, especially after that thing with Devin Nunes, Truth Social CEO.
Oh, yeah. Apparently, Nunes made some kind of comment about Griffin at a Truth Social event, and Griffin just ignored him. Plus, all these rumors about Griffin's donations to the GOP. Is he trying to buy his way out of reform?
Well, he's definitely got the money to do it, but then some people think it's the opposite, that going after Trump's stock before might make him a target now. It's a real tug of war.
So Trump might crack down on short selling, but you've got powerful people like Griffin who might block him. Where does that leave the SEC?
Well, Gary Gensler is feeling the pressure, no doubt. Nez mentioned Representative Warren Davidson, calling for Gensler to be removed, saying the SEC's overreaching, especially with the ESG disclosure mandates.
And that U.S. Treasury clearing mandate, well, the one Gensler's been pushing, Nez said the industry's fighting it hard. If Gensler's already getting pressure from both sides, could this be the final straw?
Maybe. They're saying the timeline's too aggressive, that it could disrupt the markets. But Gensler seems pretty committed to more regulation. It's a real test for him.
And this is where it all comes back to GameStop. One of the sources actually said the whole stock market, it's designed to screw over retail investors.
Yeah. Saying things like high-frequency trading, dark pools, all these complicated things that basically mean retail investors can't win.
So we've got a potential shakeup at the SEC,
Yeah.
a new administration that hates short sellers, and a system that's rigged. Where do we go from here?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And we're going to try to answer it in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay with us, folks. This is just the beginning.
And if the system's really rigged, it makes you wonder about legal stuff. One of the sources, Wall Street on Parade, they talk about this whole forced arbitration thing.
Forced arbitration. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. What does that even mean for like the average investor?
Basically, it means if you think a Wall Street firm screwed you over, you can't sue them, not in a regular court. You have to go through this arbitration system. And a lot of people say it's biased, like it favors Wall Street.
So instead of a judge and jury,
Hmm.
it's these arbitrators deciding your case. And they're chosen by the firms you're trying to sue.
Yeah, exactly. And the article points out a bunch of problems. Limited discovery, not very transparent. Arbitrators cost a ton of money. All of it just makes it harder for the little guy. It makes sense why people like Byrne hate it. They see it as a huge roadblock to making a fair market.
It's like that whole institutionalized wealth transfer system that one of the sources talked about. If you can't even get justice in court, feels like the game is rigged.
That's the argument. And it's a strong one. The article even calls forced arbitration Wall Street's get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Pretty strong words, right? But it shows how frustrated people are.
Okay, so we've got Trump maybe changing the SEC. Byrne wants to like totally redo everything. Griffin's mixed up in it all. And now this forced arbitration mess. What about Ryan Cohen, though? Where does he fit in?
Well, Nez didn't mention him in his market news stuff. But the super stunk people are all over it. And not always in a good way.
Yeah, I've seen some of that. People are mad about his tweets. They call it shit posting, especially those cryptic ones where he seems to be supporting Trump.
It's dividing the community for sure. Some people feel like his politics, they don't line up with their own. They're starting to question him, like, is he really on their side?
It feels like he's more about building his brand now
Mm.
and doing his own thing instead of, delivering on the promises he made to the GameStop investors, the ones who got him to where he is.
Right, and he doesn't really talk about GameStop's future, which doesn't help. Investors want to see real progress towards making money, not just memes and vague tweets.
So even if the market gets reformed, even if they stop naked short selling, there's still this question about Cohen. Can he actually make GameStop work?
It's complicated. You've got people who believe in him. They trust him to do the right thing. But there's also this growing frustration. People are impatient. They want to see something real happen.
It's a real test for those who've been holding GameStop stock for so long. They want to see this huge change. But are they putting their faith in the right guy?
That's the big question hanging over everything. Even if they reform the market, even if they expose naked short selling, will it be enough to save GameStop? Or has it become too much about the hype, about the hopes and dreams of the investors?
It's like the stock itself has become this symbol of fighting Wall Street, fighting the system. But GameStop still needs to be a real business, not just a meme.
Exactly. That's Cohen's challenge. He needs to bridge that gap
Hmm.
between the symbol and the actual company.
We'll be back in a bit to talk about what the future holds for GameStop in this crazy market. Okay, so we're looking at a reformed SEC maybe, a new administration that's ready to go after short sellers. And GameStop just trying to figure out what it is now. What can this administration actually do? The super stomp people have a few theories.
Well, some people think Trump's going to just go after short sellers directly, like using his executive power. Criminal charges even. Maybe an executive order targeting specific firms. It's a long shot, I think. But with Trump's history, it's not impossible.
There's even that crazy theory that Trump will start the MOS himself, the mother of all short squeezes, and then use the money to pay off the U.S. debt.
Yeah, that one's a little out there. I mean, it's a good headline. But no president would risk crashing the whole market just to target a few investors, even if it meant paying off the debt.
Okay, so no White House orchestrated MOAS. But what about Patrick Byrne? He says he's got a direct line to this administration. Could he actually change things?
I don't know. He's definitely charismatic, but also controversial. Even his supporters say he makes some wild claims. It'll be interesting to see if he can turn his online followers into real political power.
And then there's the SEC. Hester Pierce, she's been criticizing Gensler's plans. People are saying Trump might make her the new chair. What would that even mean for market reform?
Well, Pierce is known for being pro-market. Less regulation, that's her thing. If she's in charge of the SEC, we might see them roll back some of Gensler's rules, like that U.S. Treasury clearing mandate. It would be a big win for Wall Street and maybe a loss for people who want more oversight.
So it's like we're at a fork in the road. Trump and Byrne could push for big reforms, maybe even change the SEC completely. But then you have Griffin and maybe a deregulation agenda with Pierce. Which way do you think it'll go?
Honestly, I have no idea. There are so many powerful people involved, and it depends on so many things. Politics, public pressure, the economy, it's really up in the air.
It feels like we're just waiting for something to happen, like everything hinges on what this new administration does.
Exactly, and for investors,
Yeah.
especially the ones who are all in on GameStop, it's a time for both opportunity and risk.
So what does all this mean for our listeners? What should they take away from this as they try to navigate this crazy market?
I think the most important thing is don't let the headlines make your decisions for you. We've talked about a lot of possibilities, but nobody knows what's going to happen. Focus on your long-term goals, do your own research, and don't get caught up in all the hype.
It's easy to get excited when you see all these people online talking about MOS and a rigged system. But remember, investing is about making smart choices based on solid information.
We've really dug into some complex stuff here. Conflicting stories, high stakes, naked short selling, tokenized stocks, maybe even a complete market makeover. It's a lot to take in.
And before we go, let's revisit that question from before. What if trying to reform the market actually makes blockchain and decentralized finance more popular?
That's an interesting thought. Could GameStop actually benefit from this? With their NFTs and Web3 stuff? Could this be what finally lets them break free from the old way of doing things?
It's not something our sources talked about directly, but it's a real possibility. And that's what's so great about these deep dives. We find unexpected connections. We ask new questions. We challenge ourselves to think differently.
We've covered a lot today, and it's clear that GameStop's story isn't over yet. As things change in politics and with regulations, the company and the market will keep changing too, in ways we can't predict.
So stay informed, stay engaged, and never stop questioning. Until next time, keep diving deep.